So let me ask you this. Do you really need us telling you that men and women think differently? That our brains are wired in different ways, and that men don't understand women and women don't understand men. I mean, we've heard it. We know this both intuitively and from everyday experience. But because neither side really can know or understand where the other side is coming from, communication between the genders creates conflict and misunderstanding, and honestly, it's sometimes resentment. We've seen that. This is especially evident in the business community, where men who are firmly entrenched in one leadership style have difficulty dealing with the emergence of women in similar leadership positions. I mentioned GM. I don't know how that's going to pan out, but we'll find out. Women tend to think and act much differently. Just the same, many women who are suddenly thrust into this leadership role in business have no real blueprint for dealing with that role other than emulating the way men have done it for so many years. This often doesn't work. Beate Chalette is an author and creator of the Women's Code, which talks about leadership roles from the female point of view. She says that women can only succeed and avoid burnout along the way, by the way, if they embrace who they naturally are rather than trying to emulate male leadership traits. And I find that fascinating. She's here with us on the Boomers Lifeline to talk about that. Beate, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, John. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate it. I was looking around your website kind of, and I was intrigued by what I saw. But let's start with the obvious, but I guess not so easy to answer question. What are the biggest differences between the way men and women communicate?
Well, first of all, we have to understand that men find communication sort of a necessary thing. So men don't like to talk just to talk. They talk when they have to, when there's a problem to be solved, when someone comes to them as the authority who has an answer to a particular question. So it's not that they're insecure about it, but they talk when it's necessary. Whereas women, on the other side, we like to talk, period, because it's in our nature to share, to have this more active exchange with others. It's our way to ensure that everyone is included in the conversation, because we like the community building, and often, and sometimes unfortunately, that's also the way we consider building teams or running our leadership traits in business.
Beate, I know that men in business tend to respond a little more actively and certainly positively to the leaders who sort of emulate the way they are, because they're men, and how they would lead others. And this might be one reason why women tend to kind of do what the guy would do when they take on those leadership roles in business. But this isn't really the best way for a woman in that particular role to succeed, is it?
No, absolutely not. Well, first of all, we know what is being said about women that are too manly and that are, behaving like an alpha female in the office. We call them, bad names. We call them power-driven, power-hungry, and, amongst other names. So I've identified that men lead on three power words, and that's power, strategy, and persuasion. Whereas women, by nature, I call it leading on Q, which is compassion, uniqueness, and empowerment. So because the entire workforce, or the way business has been set up, it has all been set up on male traits. Because back when, the systems were set up, when the corporate structures were set up, it was only men that worked anyway. So we have to remember that it's only been 50 years that feminism paved the road to equality. And in those 50 years, as women are coming into the corporate world, they only found themselves with this one set of rules, the male rules, the way men run business. And so women had no choice other than to take on these male traits to succeed in business. But now, as so many more women are coming into the workforce, now really things are starting to change, and we are, for the first time, really thinking about what is female leadership style and what does that need to look like so women can succeed.
Now, you mentioned the two leadership styles. Is one method superior to another, in your opinion, or are they about the same?
I'm really glad you asked that question, because that is something that I get asked a lot. I don't think that we look at it from the perspective who is better or who is worse. Very much like when I look at introverts and extroverts, which is a big discussion that we're also having right now, is that each brings something to the table that is a valuable asset for any functioning team. Because if we were all wanting to lead, then we would have nobody to do the day-to-day stuff. And if we only had people who can follow rules, then we would have no idea people. So rather, I think that what we are faced with right now is to identify what people are naturally good at and then allow them, with our leadership skills to take on these roles in our teams so that the person that has ideas is encouraged to have the ideas. And if they're a little chaotic in the execution, then why don't we find someone who knows how to follow rules? Or, like I'm an idea person, for example, I know I need to work with maximizers because it bores me to figure out the minute, the little details on how it then sort of all falls in place. So I bring people on my team that have that ability. So there is no better and worse. There is just the question, where should they be in your team?
Now, you've mentioned, or I've read, that you've put together sort of this mini industry, which is called the Women's Code. Talk about how that works. How do men and women both benefit from that?
Excellent question again. Well, the Women's Code really has been designed because I've been a single mom. I've been, an entrepreneur my entire life, and I wrote, my book, Happy Woman, Happy World, and to really write down what these principles of the Women's Code are. And I found that in business, women don't help each other, and women are at each other's throat. The numbers suggest that when we go into a company, let's say with 50 employees, right, that 22 employees will be bullied, and out of those 22, 18 will leave. But that's not even the shocking part of the number. The shocking part of the number is that while men and women bully, women seek out other women at a rate of 80%. That means if a woman bullies in an office, she bullies other women at an 80% rate.
Now, Beate, I'm sorry, we're just about out of time. I apologize. If people want more information on this, where can they go to get it?
Oh, absolutely. Go to thewomenscode.com. There is a link that will lead you to a balance test so you can find out if you're out of balance, or check out the book, which you find at happywomanhappyworld.com.
Great, the Women's Code. Hey, Beate Gillette, thanks very much for being with us. There's a lot of differences there. We appreciate you pointing them out to us. All right, take care. Good stuff, good stuff. A lot more to come here on the Boomers Brain Trust. Your emails, your phone calls still ahead. 877-PLANNER is our number, PLA. Double NER, another hour. Stick around. We're coming right back.